Hey, this is the dichotomy of control. This is a Stoic philosophy principle. It's also a philosophy principle of anyone that has a very logical mind and uses their logic in order not to suffer. When we apply this principle, we have incredible peace, happiness, because we're going to surrender things outside of our control. We're not going to try to control other people. It wraps up some of the other lessons that we have done within it, including I'm not responsible for others' thoughts, emotions, and actions. And I am responsible for my thoughts, emotions, and actions. So if you're having a situation that's happened in your life and you're like, I don't know what to do. How do I fix this? Often what will cause our suffering is trying to change or will that something changes that is outside of our control. So a manager comes in and says, we're going to do things very differently. We're going to do X, Y, and Z. This is the way it's going to be done. You might have the thought, oh my gosh, this is not okay. And then you'll be in resistance to it. Instead, we're going to be looking at, okay, what's in my control? Well, I could tell them this is my concerns. That's something within your control. You could speak with warmth, validation. So start with heart validation, or you're going to give love and I understand, and then share your concerns. So, hey, I understand that this is, you're acting in the best interest of the company and that you want us all to be able to do this in order to make things better. However, I'm concerned about this. Can I share this with you? And then see how it goes. That's within your control. Outside your control is what actually happens. So we're going to take action within our control, completely release things outside of our control. So for example, you have a child that's behaving in a way that is causing them harm. Okay. Within your control is to talk to them, to give them love, to say, can I help? If they're a small child, you might even give direction. If they're an adult child, you might need to wait until they ask for advice or say, are you open to hearing how I feel about this? Everything else outside your control, whether they listen to you, whether they take the action that you've told them that they should do, how they behave, outside your control. Now, if they're a small child, it's within your control whether or not you have the Wi-Fi on your house. But there's going to be things, especially as you have adult children, that are completely outside your control. So learning how to surrender. So this happens in every area of our life. This lesson is applicable to everybody, not just to parents, but it's acceptance. So you get a flat tire. Okay, what's within my control? I can try to change it. And then what happens if you can't? Okay, then now it's outside my control. I can choose peace regardless. It's when we're in resistance to what is and what's happening in our life, that's when we deeply suffer. And this is one of the keys to not only forgiveness is the key to happiness, but being in non-resistance to what is a key to happiness. And this is the principle that we're going to be repeating to ourselves. So part of the CBT that we're doing, and the reason why we have lessons, is we're trying to give ourselves thoughts that we can replace the old patterns with. So the old worry, the old inaction that we used to take. Oh, I can't say anything because, what will they think? Well, okay, but that's still within your control to say something, right? So taking action within your control, having the courage to do that, and then releasing control of things that are outside of your control, or desiring or needing them to be that way for you to be happy. Okay. So this is a principle, like I said, it's part of Stoic philosophy. It's present in our culture. The Serenity Prayer is based on this. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, have courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So that prayer is the dichotomy of control. So why do we want to do it? Because there's nothing to fear. All things are in your best interest. So you may not believe that, but on a certain level, you might also know that that's true. People who have a deep faith often will feel this way. What I mean by that is the sense that there is good and there's purpose to their suffering, and that our suffering is a catalyst for change. So even when things are falling apart, or someone else is struggling with addiction, or something else is happening outside of our control, being able to just see that that's part of a bigger plan, and we can surrender and accept things that are outside of our control so that we can choose peace. Okay. It's futile to worry about things outside of control. So when there's things outside of our control and we're worrying about them or wanting to change them, we're just causing harm unnecessarily. Often, um, often the action in control is avoided, and insistence on things changing that are not in your control makes suffering. So that sounds a little complicated, but what I'm trying to get by is often we'll want things outside of us to change. So I need my partner to take out the garbage consistently, right? But then I'm afraid for me to be happy. But then I don't want to tell him, because if I tell them, then that means that they don't love me because I had to tell them. So then I won't share what's in my control, which is to say, hey, this means a lot to me. Are you open to doing this? So not avoiding the things that are within your control from a place of fear. Okay. So take action within your control, release things outside of your control. So it's always using that discernment. And this is part of why we have part of our self-therapy. So when you're getting stuck on something, when you're ruminating about something, okay, you can't sleep because you got that thing, you just keep going. What's in my control? Okay, this is what I can do. What's outside of my control? This is what I release. Right. So to learn new thoughts, new patterns, we need to repeat the new pattern in a way that we can condition ourselves to start thinking differently, because you've been conditioned to be this way your whole life. So it makes perfect sense that we get stuck on trying to control other people or need other people to be different for us to have happiness, or different situations. Like if it's going to rain, then I'm going to be miserable. Or we can embrace it, we can accept it, we can make the best of it. So so affirmations is one way that we can create these changes. Okay. So in your morning meditation, using the new thought, I accept things outside of my control. I take action within my control. So repeating yourself, I will take action within my control today. I will accept things outside of my control. I will choose peace instead of suffering today, because happiness is a decision that we make.